today's webinar. As I mentioned, it's about Maersk Line and how they use service virtualization to shift left and avoid test downtime. I'm happy to introduce our two panelists for today. And if we can go to our panel slide. And I should mention, by the way, that both of these gentlemen I actually met at IBM Interconnect in Las Vegas last year and had the pleasure of interviewing them for YouTube, for our YouTube channel. And again, on DevOps TV, I think you'll see an interview with both Spencer and Peter there. So just a quick plug for that. But before we get started, so Spencer Rodriguez is a test manager at Maersk Line, based in Copenhagen. And Peter Ebach, and if I mispronounce your last name, Peter, I apologize. Peter is a technical evangelist and a DevOps continuous testing expert at IBM. Peter, Spencer, welcome to today's webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that was our sound check. All appears to be working. So without further ado, let me turn things over to Spencer from Maersk, who will kick things off for us. Spencer, take it away.
Thank you, Alan, for the kind introduction. And I would like to welcome all of you as well for the webinar. Good that you have registered, and hope I can give you a good glimpse of what service virtualization can do for to shift left and reduce your downtime or dependency on downtime. So here's a little brief agenda for today. I'm quickly going to give a short introduction on Maersk Line. What do we do as a company? What are the technology and applications that we use? You can then use those to identify with yourself and your organization as well. I'm also part of the Test Center of Excellence. So a short note about what do we do there and how does service virtualization fit into that picture. Then I quickly look at service virtualization itself and the topic of the day. And then I will hand it over finally to Peter, who will wrap it up with some continuous testing solutions and more information in that area. All right, so here is a glimpse of Maersk Line in the world. I mean, we are located in 140 plus countries all across the globe. We are the #1 shipping carrier in the whole world. So most likely, if most of the things that you use at your home has somehow or in some place has been on a Maersk ship in some part of the world. So like you can see, I mean, we have local offices all around the world. We have regional offices in major continents, and also we have service centers in India and in Philippines and in China. We also have local IT operations in major continents, Singapore and US and South America, and everywhere. Primarily our operations or local operations office, as they are called, are there. We are primarily into the business of container shipping. So it's a really old company. It's the largest in the world in terms of size as a number of vessels and size in terms of volume shipped globally. We have also won prestigious awards all through the globe and every year, and that's very common for such a large company like us. I would also like you now like to take through Maersk Line IT. Maersk Line IT is headquartered in Copenhagen, Denmark, and we have also offices in UK and the USA in Charlotte. We have more than 1,000 people. This includes the Maersk Line IT staff and also the contractors and the consultants that are part of this whole global team. Our offshore centers are primarily in India, and we use a wide range of contractors in the IT space. All the big IT vendors are part of this initiative. In terms of development methodologies, it's very interesting because for many organizations, I mean many participants, what kind of development methodologies we follow here in Maersk Line IT. And we do follow all flavors of Agile, Waterfall, and name it, and some or the other project uses a different type of development methodology in Maersk Line IT. let me also give you a glimpse, a few examples of the typical IT landscape. So you see middleware, like most of us in the DevOps space, we are using the enterprise service bus. We're also using the IBM WebSphere, IBM message brokers, and all the tools in that area. Of course, we're also looking at SAP, and we're using Informatica for MDM services. End users, I mean, primarily use all sorts of interfaces today, from the iPhone to the iPads, be it Android, Windows 8, all of them are supported, and also on the desktop laptops, basically all of them are supported here. So as you can see, ours is a very wide and a complex business that we are in, and our landscape reflects the same. It's a very complex landscape that we work in. And since our products are out globally, like most companies, we also use multiple browsers, multiple OSs, and that just adds to the complexity of how we operate. And for us in a test organization, that just adds another layer of complexity of how we need to test and ensure that the quality to our end users is of top-notch quality. Some of the things in the service virtualization area that we focus on are the enterprise service bus, where we use all the web services, and then we also use MQ-based services. So these two technologies are the main areas where we are using service virtualization, and there are also other areas where we are using it, but these form the prime areas of focus. Moving forward, I would also like to just give an update on the test center of excellence activities that we are doing here. So what is the test center of excellence that I am part of normally doing? So we are a support functionality which provides consultancy, training, and expertise to the whole test organization in Maersk Line. So normally the 5 pillars that we support is people, productivity, KPIs, framework adoption, and process maturity. You can see I have listed down some of the areas, and service virtualization, like the other DevOps related items like test data management and environment management, they are all part of the productivity pillar that we support. And we have all the other areas where we are supporting people, the test managers, the training that goes along with them. In the maturity area, we provide test assessments to organization, and training also is provided to the framework adoption. We use the test TMAP framework in Maersk Line IT. We have a very engaging and collaborative test community as well. That is also something that we support as part of the test center of excellence. But today here I'm here to talk about service virtualization. And that's an interesting area for all of us to hear. I mean, we started this journey a few years back along with partnership with IBM, and it has been a really fruitful journey for us. And I will now like to take you through that journey and see where and how we have benefited from using or adopting service virtualization in our organization, especially in the testing area. So why did we even start looking at service virtualization? What was the real problem that was actually areas that we were actually struggling with? So we could figure out that as a tester, every time we asked in a community, what is the thing that stops you from achieving your productivity? And we were getting regularly quite a few common culprits. One of them was environment downtime, non-exclusive access to these environments. Data was a problem as well. And quite a few people said, okay, we have such a complex landscape, and that's posing a lot of challenges in terms of that. Let me take you through each one of them. What do we mean by one of them? So when we say environment downtime, we saw quite often that during our life cycle we spend a good 10 to 20% of our time waiting for the environment to be available. Sometimes the environment were down due to planned activities, sometimes they were down due to unplanned activities. But these were causing, these were valuable time taken out of the testing. Non-exclusive access, what does that mean? More than one products were testing at the same time. And then sometimes I was creating data for my test cases which were getting consumed by somebody else. So this was quite common. We also noticed that data, if it was I've tested in one environment, and if I promote it to a higher environment, we were seeing that, okay, it's not the same set of data that we had there. And that was also another problem that was coming up. The more complex your landscape, the more complex your interfaces, the more complex testing these interfaces gets. And that was also quite a reoccurring problem area for us. Communication when environments were down, how more than 10 projects at the same time, testing at the same time, that was again also a little bit of black box. This was some of the areas that we were constantly getting challenged with and we had to improve. So we looked at, okay, how can we look at these areas, and we looked at the market, we looked at, had discussions, workshops with our partners, and then we came out with a brief map like this one, which demonstrates what are the different areas we looked into. So we looked at some solutions in the area of service virtualization. We also looked at data virtualization and environment virtualization and some other solutions. Service virtualization is a way of mimicking the behavior of the backend or the support applications. Data virtualization was somewhere we discussed where we could take snapshots of environments for a particular time period and then we could reuse them later. Environment virtualization was something similar in that space where we could actually spring up environments quickly on the spot, or we could also, if the exclusivity of environments was a concern, there we could actually make small VMs and we could use them for giving exclusive access to some critical projects. So these are some of the areas that we looked at. And then we plotted them against the intensity of which each of these challenges was addressed by these solutions. So we could see environment downtime could be very well addressed with service virtualization, could also be addressed with environment virtualization. Non-exclusive access was primarily the area where environment virtualization gave us a lot of benefit. Data inconsistencies, data virtualization, test data management, these are some of the solutions that we saw were best fit in that area. Complex interfaces, again, service virtualization was addressing those with higher intensity compared to the other solutions. And data virtualization or test data management was slightly lower on those ones. For communications, we had a lot of internal practices that we didn't. We had created a SharePoint, we created a lot of distribution lists, and a lot of communication internally as well within the organization. So there were some internal solutions that we looked at. At the same time, there were also some challenges where there were no solutions identified, and that was also something that we had. So this is a map of basically how we saw after we did the first analyze part of our project. We saw that service virtualization was coming out to be an obvious winner in terms of touching all the boxes in some level of intensity at least, if not everything in full focus. And that is something then we said, okay, we have an outright place to start off with. Let's take some baby steps in this area and let's see how that things progress. So we started off with a journey on service virtualization there. So this was basically the problem area. So let's see how service virtualization then helped us go forward. So what is service virtualization, if you may ask? Let's look at that one. So service virtualization is a tool or a solution solution which mimics the behavior of the support applications. So it's an industry standard. Everyone, I think, I mean, every time I've attended conferences now, it's very common that I hear that people are using service virtualization more and more these days. And it's no longer something that we need to spend a lot of time explaining or discussing with vendors and our partners as well. They are all coming up with good resources and skilled resources in this area. How does service virtualization help a project? It helps us actually in reducing cycle time. It also helps us to reduce our dependencies on multiple backend systems. I was talking about complex interfaces. This is exactly the area. If we are using a shared environment, ESB and all those kind of things, there's a lot of dependency on each other. That dependency is also heavily reduced by using service virtualization. We were also able to shift left, test early, develop early using service virtualization, integrate early as well. So there's a lot of reduction in some of the key waste that we had in our organization in the DevOps cycle, and that we were able to eliminate. Here is a visual illustration of how we are using service virtualization. So here you can see that this is my system under test, and I have the testers, be it the unit integration, functional, mobile, performance, name it, and everyone is using service virtualization. So these are the typical landscape for us. As I was sharing, we have an integration platform integrating with the web service, with the MQ-based communications or database. All of them we are using. When the application is available, up and running, we are able to capture, model, and then publish these virtual services using the rational virtualization, test virtualization server and the rational integration tester. We are intercepting the messages and we are recording them and we are using them. However, in some cases where the backend applications are not available and we are only dependent on something which is just a design is created, there we skip the capture part, we go straight to the modeling part and the publishing part, and we use the services. So when these services, for example, are not available, there's downtime, then we are able to actually use service virtualization. We are able to use the virtual services and we are able to consume them without having the downtime now. So this is a very typical place where we are reducing the dependency on our the backend applications. So the perceived solution and challenges. So lost time during testing, that is a challenge that we constantly had in our, like I mentioned earlier, effort lost while waiting. I mean, some of our testing teams could be up to 20 resources, and all of them, while they are waiting, it just burns a lot of money and time, and a lot of quality also is going down in that area. That's something that we are also addressing. Sometimes it's very difficult to create test data everywhere. So in that case, we are also looking at addressing those ones. Development delays. Sometimes when developers are developing, they have a lot of dependency on or rather waiting for other projects or other services to be ready. That also affects the integration or unit integration for them. And there also service virtualization, we are using them to address it. And you can see now neatly that development is the last box. One of the main reasons why it's the last box is because this initiative was started as a test center of excellence, and our primary focus initially was just on the testing areas, and our business case was highly focusing towards the test area. However, as we have used service virtualization over our journey, we have seen that equally our developers are now embracing service virtualization, and they have been able to make fantastic use of this one here. So let's look at some of the scenarios of where, how we are addressing it. So wherever there was downtime, now we are able to use the service virtualization to actually, to integrate and then reduce the dependency. So what we do is we typically have a virtual service created, and that virtual service is whether a virtual service should be used or the live service or the real service should be used, that is determined by the settings in the proxy. So when the real service is down, based on certain rules, we point to the virtual service. That's one of the things. I mean, for test data creation, we are using this one to create test data by setting up we have connected, so we have created a database where we have recorded all the transactions while the application is up and running. And when the application is down, we just use that data which has been recorded to use it for testing. So that's one. And the development is a very easy area to understand, because here every time development begins, the first thing that we do is we create a virtual service. The first thing we do is create a virtual service that is then integrated with the UI and some of our backend applications. Sometimes we need to create a wrapper for them, and that's how we use them. And as and when the real service is available or its development is complete, we will swiftly just replace the virtual service with the real one. And the endpoints also more or less remain the same for this, for the visuals remain the same.
Okay.
You have a poll question for me, Alan, at this time?
Yes, I was trying to jump in, Spencer. Thank you. I'd like to, at this point, get up our first poll question for our audience, and we are interested in what you say. Which of the following challenges affects you the most? Downtime in your environments or environments downtime, non-exclusive access, data inconsistencies, a little trouble there, complex interfaces, and communication. So please, if you can give us your answers, we're just going to take a few moments here. Pick one. We're going to close it off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's see what our audience said. Wow. You know what, Spencer? I expected environments downtime to lead, but I didn't expect complex interfaces to tie with them. I wonder, Peter, Spencer, what's your take on that?
It's very common. I mean, I've seen that. I mean, environments downtime does affect a lot of people, but complex interfaces, and they all go hand in hand. So I'm not surprised, actually, because I actually was counting on environments downtime and complex interfaces to be the top 2 areas.
Well, they were, and they were tied.
Exactly. So absolutely no surprise. And actually, I mean, we have quite a few discussions with the IBM on this subject, and it's surprising. I mean, that how often they and other customers in their discussions also face similar challenges. Hence, I actually placed this question because I just wanted to actually see if that's true industry-wide, or it is just people who are wanting to use service virtualization, they have this problem. But that's good to know.
Excellent. And guys, I just wanted to mention as we jump back to our slides here, Spencer, we could go into slideshow mode, that the poll results and discussion around this, we are tweeting it live on Twitter, and if you follow us at devops.com, you can see that there. What I'd like to do now, though, gentlemen, if it's okay, is let's jump to the next polling question and see if we can't get that out of the way and understand what the audience thinks about there. And the question here is, how long must you typically wait for test environments to be available? And select one of the following. Are we talking hours, 1 to 24? Is it measured in days? Is it measured in weeks? Or heaven forbid, measured in months? If you can give us your answers. Again, we'll close off voting in a few seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And our answers are, okay. So guys, it looks Days is the overwhelming winner with 67% of the responses. And I guess that's pretty much what we would expect, though I'm sure people would like to see ours. I don't think we're there yet. And I'm glad we didn't really see too many that measure them in months. So,
yes.
Excellent. Peter and Spencer, should we do our next poll question now, or do you want to continue with the presentation?
If we could take a while and then we could do that one a little later. What do you think, Peter?
Okay.
Well, I think so maybe just wait until Spencer has talked about the service virtualization slides here, right? And then we can take it, I believe.
Okay.
In the end of that. Yeah, that would be good. Thanks.
Very good, Peter. Go ahead, Spencer.
Sure. So now that we've seen the challenges, I mean, I also discussed some of the solutions that we are using them for. I just wanted to go through some of the benefits that we have seen in the short term. We've seen that this is some of the quotes from test managers and project managers with service virtualization and the UI. We were able to bring the dialogues with the business team by 6 to 8 weeks. But this is the typical benefit of using this in the development life cycle, where a project manager was very happy with the use of service virtualization, that it was able to decouple the dependencies on the back-end applications. So what it gave him was he could actually show a very fruitful demo, and then he was also able to bring, typically the demo would be at the end of some form of development, when development is somewhat ready. But here, using and integrating with the virtual service, he was able to show a very, very rich demo, and he was also able to give it to the business and say, hey, why don't you just start using this UI and see how responsive it is based on this. And based on the usage there, we were able to add data on the fly. So that just meant that the business was able to have a look at these things way before the user acceptance test or way before the testing started, and they could able to give feedback to the developers that just enhanced the use of service virtualization for the developers. Similarly, where the testers have been using it, every time the environment was down, kicks in the virtual service, and the virtual service coupled with the data set that we have put in at the back just gives us a very powerful combination for the testers, and they could see that, okay, every time we would shoot out an email when the environment was down to them saying that, hey, environment is now down, all responses will now be through the virtual service. And when the environment is up again, we were able to push the real services. And then at the same time, when test data was a problem, so that just saved, people had to create test data in some of the back-end applications. But with virtual services, they didn't need to do that. They just needed to go to Excel file, update all the data that they needed, and we just fed in this data using virtual service. So some of these features, of course, have been enhanced by us on top of the IBM WIT solution, and then we have partnered with our vendor TCS, who has actually helped us to build some of the additional utilities around them. So that's how we have been. So that's a lot of benefits straight coming out of the tool, and there's also a lot of freedom that this tool allows us to integrate with some other APIs and makes it a little bit enriching use of the tool. Of course, I mean, there's a lot of benefit, but there's also a lot of challenges that we have to go through the implementation. And I also would like to take some time to point about these ones and how we can overcome these challenges. Typically, I mean, this is a new technology in the market. I mean, it's still there for the last 3-4 years, and but it's picking up steam very quickly. So you have to make space for in your project plans for the knowledge or the spread of this knowledge and spread of this initiative. So you have to make time for that one. You have to communicate with the organization. You have to do a lot of road shows where to communicate as much about the use of this tool in the organization. Similarly, we also had a change management. People are used to working in a certain way, and every time a new tool or new technology is in the market, then it takes some time to convince people to get on board. And the best way to do that is by doing a few POCs, a few demos of the use of this tool, and then the results speak for themselves. So then we have been able to do that with a few projects, and then we have got the project management just selling this tool to each other. We don't even have to communicate after a certain point. Another challenge that we faced was prioritization, because always the delivery of the projects and the project deadlines take precedence over adopting this new technology and making time to create virtual services and all those kind of things. That is an interesting area. We have to then make sure that the management is involved here and prioritization is given so that some form of investment is done in this area for creating the virtual services, because when the application or the environments are down, we then start to reap tremendous benefits from there. Of course, there are some challenges that you have to, which are very local to each organization. That is the infrastructure setup and the DevOps model that each organization uses. So we are closely tied in with our DevOps organization here, and we took some effort to get that set up. But once we have managed to engage them, it has been a very smooth engagement with them, and they are part of the whole initiative as such. So here is, I would like to summarize the journey. So in 2013, we initiated the project where we actually started having discussions with various vendors. We got some requirements, we got some tool analysis and spoke to our vendors. In 2014, the project was officially approved. We got the tool procured that year in December. We got some training from IBM. We also did a pilot. In 2015, we then moved forward to implementation and rollout, full rollout. And this year is about actually just stabilizing and just using the tool and enjoying the benefits of the investment that we've put in over the last 2.5 years prior to that. So this is the journey that we have gone through. I have to highlight that, I mean, this is something that doesn't just happen overnight. It takes a due time. Of course, I mean, like some of the challenges that I listed earlier, had we probably done some of the challenges handled better, we would have probably been able to do this in half or less than half the time with that one. Some of the things that really helped us move faster last year has been our engagement by actually getting our vendors, TCS, to actually help us build these services. So we have created a standard centralized team who creates virtualization for the whole organization. Then we also have spent some time putting the governance and the change management and the build processes in place. We engage with Cognizant to do that kind of engagement. So that's also very good that you, if you have vendors that you are working with and have close collaboration with, you use them to, and most of them have very good resources for the tool because IBM is one of the leading tools in this area. So most vendors come with very good resources here. So that was something that helped us to move faster in our journey. Just to wrap it up, before I leave it to Peter to provide some continuous things. It's complex, it does take time. Like I said, we need to create a strategy actually for this one. There needs to be short-term goals, long-term goals for what we want to achieve. I would like to say that we have to be flexible, because in our journey we have changed direction quite a few times within our organization based on the different priorities. And again, testing is not an island, so we need assistance from the other areas of the developers, the solution architects, the business guys to be part of this as well. So the more people who are engaged in this kind of projects, the benefits are much more easier and to achieve. Like I said, I mean, it's been a very challenging experience for us, but at the same time, it has been equally fun. It has been a fantastic experience to work with this one, and I can very gladly say now we are in a phase where we are just reaping the benefits of the plan and the execution that we have done over the last 2 or 3 years. So with that, I will hand it over to Peter, who would like to share some more talk about the DevOps and the IBMs of continuous testing area.
Thank you, Spencer. Peter, before you begin, did you want to do our last poll question now, or shall we wait?
No, please do the poll now, Alan. That's a good time here to do it.
Thank you. Okay, so our last polling question is, how many of you are using service virtualization today? This is a great question because frankly, it's been around a while and we keep thinking more and more people will use it. So let's see how many. We'll close voting off here in another 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, come on, get your last second vote in. 1, closed. Okay, what do our answers show? Wow, this is a close one. 51% no, 49% yes. So really close, Peter, about half and half. Is that surprising to you?
No, not really, because when we actually sent it out, this poll question, I was expecting that maybe we're not talking about using a tool like this necessary to do simulation of dependencies in your testing environments. It might as well be, stop in a traditional way that actually been for years, been used for years. I know that for many years have been used in mainframe systems. I also know that other tools have some sort of markup capabilities. So, some simulation or service virtualization exists already. But what I believe maybe is under these information here is also that it's a very simple simulations they got. That's what I hear from most customers. So actually it's more complex to actually administrate and maintain more complex stopping, simulating more complex business logic or behavior, and that makes another requirement for tooling and how easy it is to work in my perspective.
I'm actually a little bit surprised. I thought it would be slightly lower, but it's good to know that. But at least we can know that the term here is no longer that.
Peter, Spencer, excuse me. I'm going to need one of you, maybe perhaps Spencer, to go on mute because we are picking up an echo now.
Sorry.
Not better. Go ahead.
Okay. So let me try to end up this by elaborating a little bit about actually going on from where Spencer has given us an excellent, hopefully you find it very interesting to hear his experience about that. It has been very exciting to follow Maersk and Spencer and his team to actually go through these things with all the learnings that has been done. So what I actually want to do, because that makes maybe a little bit good sense to do that when we have been listening on Spencer, is to go a little bit into our DevOps perspective here, what the message is about DevOps, and try a little bit to actually massage this service virtualization, etc., into this aspect here, and why it's so interesting and can be so valuable for organizations or enterprises to look into this area here. So it's a very high level abstraction of the DevOps messages, so we don't have the time today to go into the very low details here, but focusing mostly on the continuous testing part of things here. But in all terms, when we talk about a DevOps approach, we all know that the disruption and digital transformation is key words in a lot of industries, and also become something that organization is going to handle or strive for to do to catch up with the increasing competition that is in the marketplace, with new business model being introduced, with through a cloud native organizations coming in using these new technology and the way of actually being very fast in developing and delivering these applications to the marketplace. So actually there is a pressure from the business side, of course, actually, that what they want is when they have a business initiative or want to do some business innovation that needs to have some software development being done there, what they really are striving for is actually get a very fast deployment to their customers. It's essential to be able to be the disruptor and to overcome this digital transformation and get the customer engaged and being loyal to the company. So it's been very essential, especially with all the new devices and the way of actually for people to engage with businesses or services or whatever it is. So fast deployment is essential here, and it's also essential to have a very fast feedback from these customers to be able to further improve the application and services they are sending out to their customers, and also even their own internal end users and so on. And to be able to do this, we need a process. We need a very efficient process, a lean, mean, or agile process to be in there. Just like if we have a manufacturing process or earlier business process processes, we're actually looking for to optimize this one, looking into how we can automate things that are repeatable actions that is just being done over and over and over again. So it becomes fast, and also so to speak, sorry, I just lost it a little bit, the automation part of it, but also to get the feedback under the way so we know where we are during the process here to deliver these kind of things here. So it's very important to get a very lean and agile process to support these things, and that is more or less what DevOps is all about. We want to remove the bottlenecks in there, and if we come to the bottlenecks, we know the pressure coming from the business side gives some challenges to the IT or the development departments. They're giving the task to be faster, to make things cheaper and do it better. I hear more and more at customers that within 4 or 5 years they need to deliver the double amount of solutions for the same price, for the same budget. So there's really an increasing demand of having effective software delivery lifecycle there. And if you look into what the challenges there is, actually the poll questions actually shows these kind of things, that there are top issues there around quality. We have time to market issues, we have rework issues there, and it comes down to that the processes being used there today is not effective enough. There's too much process waste. For instance, for many years maybe companies have been delivering a continuous delivery for agile development, but then they have a process now that says hurry up and wait, because they don't have the test environment as we have here. They don't have the right test data, and they don't have a deployment process to actually progress it fast enough to get it into production to the customers. So it's like, you know, going fast in the beginning, going very slow, and then we are actually just wasting time in the process here. So we could be much more efficient there. So that's where we are actually. It is about testing. I know a lot of companies that have said to me that 30% or more of their time in a development project is bound to testing or lack of capability of testing. And it's a huge cost there. They can test late in the cycle, which actually compromise the quality of the product here. So they need some sort of a solution in there that they can put in to actually, as they do it at Maersk here, take away the dependencies very early in the process here. For even at the unit test level, they can do the testing all they can. Also at the first component or integration testing, they can test different streams, components coming together, but we don't have everything there. So we can put things together and test much more and take away a lot of the defaults, defects in that area, and not come too late into the process where we know the prices maybe 10 or 100 the time of actually actually to solve these things. So continuous testing is important, and a lot of customers are looking into this at the service virtualization and API testing. So we don't have to wait for the GUI interfaces to be finished, and we'd have to go with functional testing in a traditional way, but we can test much earlier. It is becoming something the customers or enterprises are looking into to actually get to that one. So that's just to say what is here. This area that Maersk is working with fits perfectly into a DevOps approach, into a hybrid cloud perspective. We are working with that kind of things, into multi-speed IT environments to service the different teams that is in there. So that's what I wanted to wrap up on this slide here. And if we could go to the next one. I also find it interesting to actually see what actually testing tools are inside a software delivery life cycle. And I like ISTQB because they have been looked upon on organizations delivering good practices within testing, and they have a way of showing it in a V model here where they have a lot of testing there. One point I want to make here is testing is not just a task in the delivery cycle here. It is actually a matter of being everywhere as a quality assurance task in the life cycle here. From the very beginning, you can think about test-driven development and so on in the beginning, and go down the left leg there, and then we start to code it, and then we take over here and actually get the service virtualization in place, and we get the test execution by having automated testing in there, which could be an integration test, could be a functional test, performance test, or whatever is in there. So it is on the map for an organization as like ISTQB, that these are tools that is worth looking into to optimize the delivery cycle. If we go on to the next. So the last thing I want to do is actually just saying that maybe I know that for some people it's a unknown thing that actually IBM has a full suite of testing tools to cover within this DevOps message here. But we really do, and we also have been named as leaders in the testing space and quality assurance space with our integrated solution and so on. In the terms of Maersk here, what is being used here is the IBM Rational Test Workbench, including the integration tester, which is the workbench to create integration tests, but also these stops or virtualized services here. So that's what they're using. It's a scriptless, which is a pretty interesting tool here, so it's easy for not just developers but other people that in the organization actually to learn this tool and actually create some test cases or virtualized services to be implemented. So we are reaching out for a larger group of people, architects, super testers, or whatever it can be, not just developers like a good old-fashioned script-based testing tools actually do today. And then we have, of course, some performance testing capabilities in here. We have functional testing capabilities in the GUI way. We have, of course, regression testing, mobile testing in there in that tool, and we do support a lot of technologies when we come into these kind of things here. And the last thing is the test virtualization server, which is this is a server that actually contains our virtualized stops, simulating the behavior of every dependency we have in our environment to be able to do that. And that's a service that actually where we publish our virtualized components, where we administrate the virtualized components, and where we can share the components between our different test teams and so on, and taking over some of the test lab infrastructure in a virtualized way compared to a real real systems that has to be available. We can use a lot of time. I would recommend, if you want to learn more about this, there's a link down there where you can go in and look about the testing solutions for IBM. And I think actually I have to end now, Alan, here. I hope it makes good sense here, and I will get it over to you again, Alan. Thank you.
Peter, thank you for getting us in time on that. I appreciate it. So excellent webinar, guys. You know, as I think I told you when we last met in person in Las Vegas, the thing that really gets me about the whole Maersk story is we're not talking about some unicorn here. We're not talking about a cloud-native company. As I think Spencer alluded to, Maersk is an old line shipping company that's been doing business for, you can measure it in decades, not years or even months. And yet, to compete in today's world, they must adopt things like service virtualization and DevOps and continuous testing and shifting left in order to remain competitive and succeed in today's world. And I think that's the real lesson for anyone out here listening today, is that I don't care what kind of company you're in and what industry you're in, we're all at some level software companies, and we all need to be able to outcompete our competition. And in order to do so, these are the kinds of methodologies that we need to adopt, and I think Maersk is a poster child. So Spencer, to you, congratulations, and to the whole team, and to Peter and the IBM team for working so closely with them. So with that being said, let's see, we only have a few moments here for questions, so let me see if I can get some. One is, does Maersk use test automation with service virtualization? Spencer, would you like to answer that?
Yes, I can. Yes, we do use them in collaboration. So we have our in-house test automation framework, which is again scriptless and has multiple tools under it. And we use virtualization in collaboration with that as well. Yes.
Excellent. So I hope that answered your question. Another question we had earlier was, Peter, how, obviously there's a very tight relationship here between IBM and Maersk, but can you describe sort of the nature of that relationship? It seems to be more than just the usual customer-vendor.
Yeah, from my perspective, I can answer on that, and maybe Spencer could also mention his. But from my point of view, it was a very interesting dialogue we started up some years back, as Spencer also mentioned, on actually what their major issues were around testing and so on. And it came down to a dialogue and further investigation of what service virtualization was all about. And the approach was simply, as Spencer also been talking about, having service virtualization to actually be a backup for testing environments that experience some downtime period, which was a pretty interesting discussion for us, because normally in IBM, from my perspective, we are starting a little bit the other way around, actually, to supply virtualized services early in the development phases. But here we are actually using it as a backup of downtime period. Makes good sense anyway, but it has been great success, as we can hear here. So I learned a lot of things from Maersk here. I understood that there absolutely is some culture aspect that you have to look into here. There's some mindship mentality that has to be challenged and all that kind of thing. So it's a huge benefit and learning process for me as a person to have this connection with Maersk in deploying these things here. And I've just been following on and trying to help Spencer every time that it was possible, or he needed my help to assist him or get some information, and that will continue that way. So I think, from my perspective, I have a very good, solid partnership with Spencer and his team in here, and hopefully that will continue for a long time going forward here.
Excellent. We have a bunch of other ones here. What was the rationale, Spencer, behind selecting IBM for service virtualization? If you can say, what other solutions did you look at?
So we do a standard POC with various tools, and then we looked at some of the tools in the market which can also provide similar tools. However, we have also some strong relationships with IBM and partnerships with IBM, so that helps us in getting some good key benefits in there in terms of the commercial area. So all these things put together, I mean the technical and the commercial aspects put together, and the partnership that Maersk has with IBM, all these were some of the things. But if you ask me from a test perspective, we looked at primarily all tools in the market, and with the technology set that we have in Maersk, a lot of the tools are also built by IBM here in Maersk. So that also helped us in terms of, it was the integration perspective. So the things put together, we went with the IBM tool of the various tools which offer service virtualization offerings.
Got it. Geez, we only have time for another one or two here. So, does IBM Maersk have any visions towards hosting or providing servers virtualization in cloud, sort of servers virtualization as a service? Peter, this is probably better, I would imagine, for you than Spencer.
At this point, we don't have a cloud offering ourselves on this tooling here. I know that that's all I can say. I don't know the plans. I'm not entitled to look into that. But that's something definitely that's been discussed. I've seen solutions that has been possible to deliver some software as a service solution through partners actually buy and deliver it that way. But a real software as a service cloud offering, we don't have that yet. We have to see what the future brings. That's all I can say, unfortunately.
Got it. Got it. Guys, unfortunately, that also brings us to the top of the hour, and I'm going to have to call it a day here. But before we do, Spencer, thank you so much, and to all the people at Maersk for agreeing to kind of open the kimono a little bit here and give us a peek inside as to how Maersk is adopting virtualization, shifting left, etc. And Peter, thank you so much, as always, for working with Maersk and working with us here to kind of illuminate, what some of these cutting-edge solutions are. We appreciate it. Hope to have you both back soon. Maybe I'll see you at IBM Interconnect next year, or maybe in Europe at one of our DevOps Connect CD Summit thing.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Alan, for giving us the opportunity to present, and thanks for everyone who has attended the webinar.
Yeah, thank you here from my side as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you, IBM, for sponsoring today's event. Most of all, thank you all for attending. We hope you found this interesting. If service virtualization DevOps is something you're interested in, I'm sure you did. Until next time, this is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com. Have a great day, and we'll see you at our next webinar. Bye-bye.